Hello everybody. Previously, when I did the video about Journey to the West, or rather when I was actually reading Journey to the West, a lot of people complained that it was kind of hard to understand and that I wasn't really pronouncing the words in a way that, well, people can actually understand them. I wasn't very articulate, and it's not easy for me to do that, or to read anything in English, since obviously I'm not a native speaker. But I took the criticism to heart, since, well, it's actually true, and I have to work on that. So I want to work on that and improve that. So this time I decided I'm gonna read something again, but not as long as what I was trying to read previously. Nowhere near as long as Journey to the West. Just a little short story, mainly for myself, to help me improve my reading and help me to be more articulate when I'm reading a story. And hopefully this time it will be easier for you guys to understand. Originally I actually thought about reading Animal Farm, since I thought, well, that would be kind of fitting. But again, this is Animal Farm is way too long also. I mean, it's not nearly as long as Journey to the West, but it's still pretty long. And so as a practice exercise, it's kind of too long. So I decided I'm going to read you, well, I'm going to read you a fairy tale, since Animal Farm already is kind of a fairy tale, more or less. Not really, but kind of. So I decided I'm going to read you another fairy tale, a real fairy tale, from the Grimm Brothers. And of course, originally this was written in German. So I'm also going to read it in German, but I'm going to read it in German on my German channel. And here I'm going to read it in English. Of course, it's well, I chose a particular fairy tale. I'm not going to bother you with, I don't know, Little Red Riding Hood or whatever. I think the fairy tale, and this is actually one of Grimm's fairy tales, but not a lot of people actually read it, which I think it's a shame, because this is one, personally I think it's one of the more interesting ones, and it has a nice message. And of course, it's not a coincidence that I choose this story. You will see you will see when I read it to you why I chose this story, I guess. So let's just start now. Oh, and one more thing. When I read this now, maybe some people will think I'm reading from the Bible or something. It sounds a little bit like like something from the Bible, but of course, as I said, it's not from the Bible. It has nothing to do with the Bible. It's one of Grimm's fairy tales. Okay, so here we go. It's called Eve's Unequal Children. When Adam and Eve were driven from paradise, they were forced to build a house for themselves on barren ground and eat their bread by the sweat of their brow. Adam hoed the field, and Eve spun the wool. Every year, Eve brought a child into the world, but the children were unlike each other. Some were good-looking and some ugly. After a considerable time had gone by, God sent an angel to them to announce that he himself was coming to inspect their household. Eve, delighted that the Lord should be so gracious, cleaned her house, diligently decorated it with flowers, and spread rushes on the floor. Then she brought in her children, but only the good-looking ones. She washed and bathed them, combed their hair, put freshly laundered shirts on them, and cautioned them to be polite and well-behaved in the presence of the Lord. They were to bow down before him courteously, offer to shake hands, and to answer his questions modestly and intelligently. The ugly children, however, were not to let themselves be seen. She hid one of them beneath the hay, another in the attic, the third in the straw, the fourth in the stove, the fifth in the cellar, the sixth under a tub, the seventh beneath a wine barrel, the eighth under an old pelt, the ninth and 10th beneath the cloth from which she made their clothes, and the 11th and 12th under the ladder from which she cut their shoes. She had just finished when someone knocked at the front door. Adam looked through a crack and saw that it was the Lord. He opened the door reverently, and the Heavenly Father entered. There stood the good-looking children, all in a row. They bowed before him, offered to shake hands, and knelt down. The Lord began to bless them. He laid his hands on the first, saying, "You shall be a powerful king." Did the same with the second, saying, "You shall be a prince." To the third, "You a count." To the fourth, "You a knight." To the fifth, "You a nobleman." To the sixth, "You a..." Don't really know what this means. Never mind. You get the idea. To the seventh, "You a merchant." To the eighth, "You a scholar." Thus he bestowed his richest blessings upon them all. When Eve saw that the Lord was so mild and gracious, she thought, "I will bring forth my ugly children as well. Perhaps he will bestow his blessings on them too." So she ran and fetched them from the hay, the straw, the stove, and wherever else they were hidden away. In they came, the whole coarse, dirty, scabby, sooty lot of them. The Lord smiled, looked at them all, and said, "I will bless these as well." He laid his hands on the first and said to him, "You shall be a peasant." To the second, "You a fisherman." To the third, "You a smith." To the fourth, "You a tanner." To the fifth, "You a weaver." To the sixth, "You a shoemaker." To the seventh, "You a tailor." To the eighth, "You a potter." To the ninth, "You a tempter." To the 10th, "You a sailor." To the 11th, "You a messenger." To the 12th, "You a household servant." all the days of your life." When Eve had heard all this, she said, "Lord, how unequally you divide your blessings. All of them are my children, whom I have brought into the world. You should favor them all equally." But God replied, "Eve, you do not understand. It is right and necessary that the entire world shall be served by your children. If they were all princes and lords, who would plant grain, thresh it, grind and bake it? Who would forge iron, weave cloth, build houses, plant crops, dig ditches, and cut out and sew clothing? Each shall stay in his own place, so that one shall support the other, and all shall be fed like the parts of a body." Then Eve answered, "O Lord, forgive me, I spoke too quickly to you. Let your divine will be done with my children as well."